Wow, so the Cowboys did beat the Saints, completely shutting down a previously unstoppable offense. That was not how I expected that to go. But hey, now the Cowboys are 7-5 with a chance to put a stranglehold on the NFC East. We can have arguments about where the Cowboys fit in with the Saints and the Rams and the Bears later, but they are obviously the best team in this division. The best quarterback on the Giants is Odell Beckham, and Washington's quarterback keep breaking legs. Now Mark Sanchez and Adrian Peterson are the starting backfield for a football team in 2018 in the NFL. Seriously. So for the Cowboys, there are only two threats now to the NFC East: the Eagles and themselves. The Cowboys have gone a shockingly long time without beating themselves. They haven't lost in a month at all, and now that was to a fraudulent Titans team, but those last 4 games for Dallas have been fantastic, and the most important win from that stretch was not last week against the Saints. It was that 27-20 victory in Philadelphia. Here's why. If the Cowboys win on Sunday at home against the Eagles, the NFC East would be almost impossible to lose. A Cowboys win on Sunday would make the Cowboys 8-5 and the Eagles 6-7. The Cowboys would also maintain the tiebreaker. Even if the Eagles were to win versus the Texans at home and then at Washington, they'd also have to win at the Rams on Sunday Night Football next week. After the hypothetical loss at Dallas this week, losing to the Rams and then beating the Texans and Washington would make the Eagles 8-8. For the Cowboys, 8-8 probably means the division title.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of D-CONNstructing Dallas. Unfortunately, Mike is still unavailable. Hopefully we are able to get through this soon. Hopefully he is able to get a computer that is able to handle 2 people on at the same time, plus being able to stream to you guys as well. I am too broke for that. But today, there's a couple things I wanted to talk about. First, I wanted to talk to you guys and ask you guys how you feel about this division right now. Do you believe that the Cowboys have what it takes to win the division? Now, that may seem like a somewhat simple question at this point, just looking at the way that the Eagles have played lately, how beat up their secondary is, and then also how the Redskins have played recently and how just absolutely destroyed their team is. I mean, it's absolutely decimated with injury. You don't imagine them being able to win, and with the Eagles' schedule, you don't expect them to either. Where I really want to get with this is our feelings towards the coaching staff. Specifically, our feelings towards Jason Garrett. How do we feel about Red right now? Because this team at 3-5 could have folded. They absolutely could have went home, took their doggy bag, and given up on the season at 3-5. Now, they sit at 7-5. They just beat the best team in the league. And they never, ever quit on their coach when all of us had quit on them. I was about to start talking second-round picks. This was about to turn into a complete draft show. And now we're talking about winning the division. And not just winning the division as a possibility, but as a likely outcome. So we need to have a discussion about Jason Garrett and this coaching staff and how we feel about them at this point. Because I got to be honest with you, no matter how this goes, no matter what happens in the playoffs, Jason Garrett has to be your head coach. Now, I think there are things that this team has to do so that it's not an issue going forward. I believe that they, after 8 years or however long it's been that he's been a head coach, why there isn't a clock management specialist they've hired is beyond me. I have no idea. Because that's the one thing, and I really just want Jason to be a CEO. I don't want him having to worry about timeouts. I don't want him to have to worry about the offense. I don't want it to be his at all. He can bring in another OC in because I want Linehan gone if they win the Super Bowl. But can you guys still not hear me? I don't know what's going on with my microphone right now. But what I can do is I can do this. I will hold this microphone up to my face for the entire hour if that means that you can hear me better. Hopefully, this fixes the issue. Also, you don't have to look at the bottom half of my ugly-ass mug this way. Now, back to the Cowboys. I do believe that they are going to win this division. Like I said, I don't want to get rid of Jason Garrett. And honestly, even when they were 3-5, I didn't want to get rid of Jason Garrett. And that's because I didn't think that this would quit. John asked what happened to Ari. This is not Ari's show. Ari's show, Showtime, is still on from noon to 1 o'clock every single day. This is my show that's on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 8 to 9 Central. I hope that my volume is better. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what's going on with my microphone. I've never had an issue with the sound before. It's turned all the way up on my video streaming service. Hopefully it gets better. Now, like I said, I think the Cowboys are winning this division. I think that they're going to win this game this week. I will get my official prediction in on Friday during the show then. And we'll talk a little bit more about these offensive and defensive matchups, really dive into that game. I think they're going to win the division, and I think they have a chance here to win the last 4 games and go 11-5, which would be crazy. And that's a question I would like to ask. If they go in and they win all these games in a row, how do you feel about them going into the playoffs? Because there's a thought that you would rather them lose a game because you've got to think at some point it's going to happen. So would you rather just them win out, end up with the 3rd seed, or would you rather them, lose their last game of the season, lose that game the week before? How do you guys feel about that? Because I know how I feel. I think that I would like them to win. I would like, Joseph says, I would like a new offensive coordinator. Joseph, so would I. I believe it could literally be anybody else and be fine. Anybody who looks at this team, looks at this quarterback we have, and knows that it could be better. And part of that does go to running more of a college-style offense. Not that they need to simplify it, but what they need to do is they need to make it so that this team is able to use Dak Prescott's strengths and use Ezekiel Elliott's ability out of the backfield, 1, to catch the ball, and 2, to put him in better positions to run the football, because I truly believe that he could be regarded easily as the 2nd most talented halfback in this league. The most talented, in my opinion, is Saquon Barkley. But he's running behind a terrible offensive line, and he still hasn't figured out how to be the best runner. He's the most athletic. He's 6'1". He's 240 pounds almost. He can squat a freaking Volkswagen. The dude is a freak. And he's got that juice that Ezekiel Elliott doesn't seem to have anymore. But Ezekiel Elliott is a better runner. So I would like to see a new offensive coordinator who is able to use Ezekiel Elliott efficiently out of the backfield catching passes, which is something that we've seen Linehan do recently. He's been able to get the ball into Ezekiel Elliott's hands on 1st down catching the football instead of just stupid-ass screens on 3rd and 15. But he still doesn't get it when it comes to Dak Prescott and how to allow him to succeed in this offense. Now, I'm going to get to a few of these comments here. Cool, never watched it before. Hope to enjoy it as much as his show. John, I hope you enjoy this too. I also have a podcast that is a part of Blogging the Boys. You can also follow my writing at the Cowboys Wire. I am a Cowboys dude, and I also cover the NFL draft. So after the season, this show will continue, and I will never, ever run out of things to say. Steve says, how are we feeling about left guard position? I'm going to keep Su'a-Filo in there. For this game, I agree with that 100%. I think that even though Su'a-Filo was a little bit banged up last week and he didn't play as well, we saw what he was able to do against Fletcher Cox in that first matchup. And because Fletcher Cox has, he does have a little bit of everything. He's not just a power player, but the best part of Fletcher Cox's game is his ability to gain leverage and use his powerful hands against offensive linemen to attack them. And that's what Su'a-Filo is able to defend against and block the best. His power is his best attribute as a guard. And I think that that's something that in other matchups, and I think that you can do this as kind of a matchup set where when, depending on the game, depending on the type of defensive tackle that you are playing, like, for instance, if they were playing the Rams this week, I would rather have Connor Williams in there because although Aaron Donald is an absolute freak physically, he beats you more with speed, and especially with Su'a-Filo's ankle being banged up, that's something that I would like Connor Williams to find out himself if he's able to block Aaron Donald. And obviously they would just double team him anyways because the dude is literally unblockable one-on-one. Jeff Kavanaugh has talked about it multiple times on the radio that the only person he has ever seen block Aaron Donald was at the Senior Bowl when he was up against Zach Martin. Now that would be a fun matchup in the playoffs, but that's for another day. That's something that we will talk about in the future. Warren says he wants them to win out. I agree with that. I think that they should win out. Steve says the Colts are the only team that worries him. I don't want the Cowboys to have a bye week. Well, Steve, I don't think that they'll end up having a bye week because I think that the Rams and the Saints are going to be too good to allow that to happen. I think that they'll both end up winning 12 games. And in that case, I do believe that down the stretch here, Cowboys will give up a game. I think that with the upcoming schedule for the Bears, there's a chance that the Cowboys will be able to lock up that third seed and then be able to rest guys in that last game. And, maybe at that point you want to rest your guys and allow Eli to go out on a high note, not throwing 4 interceptions in that last game against this first-team defense. And kind of not cement his career at somebody who definitely shouldn't be a Hall of Famer. But, as a Manning, as a good, person who has been a part of this NFL for a long time, let him go out on a high note, not throw 4 interceptions against this defense. But Steve says the Colts are the only team that worries him. The Bucs kind of worry me because that is another high-powered offense. Now, their defense isn't very good, but when the teams that the Cowboys play, I'm more worried about teams with better offenses because I think that our defense is going to have issues with offenses more than our offense against bad defense, if that makes any sense. So I believe that teams with bad defenses are still going to be able to get some stops against the Cowboys. The Saints defense, besides their run attack or their run defense isn't very good, and this offense was still only able to score 13 points. I know it should have been more. I know it could have been more at the end, but I don't have enough faith in the offense to feel good against teams like the Colts and like the Bucs, who also have really good offenses. The 2 top fantasy football players for quarterbacks are those Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterbacks with each other. Now, I think that we're going to be able to turn them over, but that's for another day. I don't want to get too far into this. Dak needs more runs. Dak runs himself into throwing shape. Steve, that's a great point. He seems more comfortable throwing the football after he gets a couple of runs in his belt. It looks like he's got to get hit a couple times, past the line of scrimmage to really get a feel for the game. If Dak can just hit freaking wide open receivers, we will be in good position. Dak's accuracy for the most part isn't terrible. I mean, he does have issues down the field, and that's mostly because of his mechanics, and that's something that I'll get into in depth in the offseason. That's kind of a long discussion with what his issues are and how he can fix them, because they are fixable. And when he does put things together, he throws the ball well. We also need a quarterback coach. I absolutely agree. The issue is, at this level, from everything that I hear about the NFL, the quarterback coaches on the NFL teams don't actually teach a lot of the technical parts of the position. That's for the offseason, because they don't have enough time to work with these guys. They're not allowed to work with these guys in the offseason. So these quarterbacks have to hire personal coaches in the offseason to work with who aren't a part of the organization. And, I mean, first of all, I think that's bullshit, but so what I'm trying to say is most of what a quarterback coach does in the NFL is all installation stuff. Going down, what are your reads here? Going through the film. This is what you didn't do right here. This is what you need to do on this next play. And I believe that that's something that Kellen Moore can be good with, because for as not illustrious a career as he had in the NFL, he was the best college quarterback of all time, the most winningest quarterback. 50 wins and 3 losses in his college career may never be touched by another quarterback. So he got something right, and what I mean by that is his physical abilities are not big. He does not have a strong arm. He never did. He was never really all that accurate, but he found a way to win. And I think that if you can get Dak Prescott, an actual coach, to teach him to fix his lower half, he could be a more accurate, more consistent passer. Run more play action, I agree. We need an experienced QB coach, not no backup. Dak needs to step up in the pocket, absolutely. Good shit. Keep up the good work. Thank you. What will we make of the Super Bowl or playing for the division title? Do we get rid of the coaching? What if we make it to the Super Bowl? No, I mean, if we make it to the Super Bowl, I don't care if we win it. I want Scott Linehan gone, because his offense could still be better. The defense is going to have to carry us to a Super Bowl if we're going to win it. Run Ezekiel Elliott 25 plus times a game also. Don't mind that. How would you feel if Jerry went and got Mike McCarthy and demoted Jason to OC? No. I'm not a fan of Mike McCarthy. I feel like he underachieved with that team. He's somebody who 10 years ago was on the cutting edge of offense, and now the game has passed him by. I think we need new, fresh ideas. Now, I want to get into a different topic here. I want to move on to who in the fook is Kamu Grugier-Hill. Okay? Because this guy said this today. Look at Dallas's history. They always choke. We'll go down there and make them choke. Well, guess what, Hill? I believe it was you that dropped an easy pick 6 from Dak Prescott. I believe that was you that choked there. That was you, dumbass. Maybe you should take a hint from Zach Ertz. Have a little bit of humility. Listen to Zach Ertz talk. He is impossible not to like. I know he plays for the Eagles, and I don't like any Eagles but 2. Carson Wentz is just a phenomenal human being. It's impossible not to like him. He's also not playing all that well, so it's easier to like him that way too. Zach Ertz, one of the top 3 tight ends in the league, also a very nice guy. But he keeps his mouth shut, which is what you want to see. He's not out here talking shit against the Cowboys for no reason. Cowboys team that beat the Philadelphia Eagles the first week of the season. Or not the first week of the season, but the first time around. So, I don't know who you think you are, but you're nothing special. This guy has I had his stats up, and I took him down because they were abysmal. In 3 years in the NFL, the guy's got like 50 tackles. He was their kicker when Elliott got hurt last year. The dude has no room to talk. Sorry, I had to do that. But that guy got me fired up a little bit. If this was Fletcher Cox talking, a lot like Tank, okay? If you're a good football player, talk your shit, man. I can't say anything about it. I'm going to hate you, and it's going to be bulletin board material, but I respect you as a football player. I don't respect you at all, Grugier-Hill. I don't even know how to say his name. Anyways, we're going to move on from there. Leave Jason alone. The other coaches are the problem. Or let Jason call the plays. James, I'm down with that. I wouldn't mind getting rid of Linehan right now, but that'll be for a different day. If they lay a stinker this week against this depleted defense, which I will talk about a little bit later, we're going to have some issues, okay? Now, we're done with him. Let's move on to this topic because I didn't cover this the other day. What are we thinking about Sean Lee when he gets back, guys? Gals? If you're something else, I mean, I don't want to assume your gender. I don't want to be, what is that? I don't want to offend anybody. That's what I was going for. I don't want to offend anybody. Actually, I really don't care. I'm not going to be insensitive. But this is something that I did want to bring up. I was in the Army for 3.5 years. I was a cavalry scout in the Army. And I got shit thrown at me all the time from superiors. It's the way it goes. I'm used to abuse. The thing with me is I'm going to give it right back. So, for the people here that are listening to this, watching this right now, I love you and I thank you for watching. A little PSA. Things that you say, I will not sit here and ignore. If you come at me with some ignorance, I'm going to spit back. I'm going to do it respectfully. I may come off like an asshole sometimes. It's just the way that I am. I'm a very sarcastic person. But I'm not going to sit here and take anything. I want this to be a discussion. And if we got to throw fists over the computer at each other, that's part of the fun of this. The part of the fun of doing all of this through Facebook, having you guys on the other end to give me feedback right away is great. Because then we have a dialogue. Even though I don't have a co-host with me to punch, I can do it with you guys. I can talk with you guys. Some of you guys have brought up some very good points already today, and I thank you for that. Now, Joseph says, sit Lee, bring him back slowly. You know, he didn't practice today, and I think that because he didn't practice today, he's not going to come back. And I agree with you there. Bring Sean Lee back only when he is absolutely 100% ready. This isn't like years past where without Sean Lee, it's over. Because we've seen Leighton Vander Esch, who has played at a defensive rookie of the year type level, a Pro Bowl level. Jalen Smith playing on the cusp of that level and actually outproducing Leighton Vander Esch when it comes to disruptive plays and a few of those more advanced statistics. The thing with Leighton Vander Esch is he's got that long wingspan and he makes so many solo tackles outside of his frame, difficult tackles, that it wows you. Warren says put Lee in first down, second down, and LVE on third down. The way that I look at it is to keep this defensive line fresh throughout the game. What I would actually like to do is run a little bit of 3-3-5 nickel, so you have all three linebackers on the field at the same time. That way you can put Jalen Smith at the Sam, put him at the end of the line, and set the edge and rush the passer, because that is something that he is very good at and something that he has admitted in the past to loving. He loves to rush the passer. And that's what I want to see in the future with these three guys healthy. Now, I don't want them to do that on every play, because I do want Sean Lee to give those guys a spell when they are tired, and he sure as hell can't do that if he is also tired. So I think in situations you want to run a 3-3-5. Now, I think that in base he obviously comes in, and then they run a 4-3 and have Jalen move to the Sam, LVE moves to the Mike, and then Sean Lee plays the Will. But I think somewhere, around 35 to 40% of the snaps with Leighton Vander Esch playing between 60 and 70, and then Jalen Smith around 80 is where you want to be. Now, I would like to see Leighton Vander Esch take some of Jalen Smith's snaps when they go to dime and only have one linebacker in the game, or run some 3-2-6 dime with two linebackers and have Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith rushing the passer, like I said, again. Now, like I said, I think that's how they should handle the return. I think that they should, take it easy and bring him back slowly, only when he is 100%, because you do want him down the stretch run, because he is still probably your best linebacker, whether we want to believe it or not, because of how good the other two have played. Sean Lee is still a phenomenal linebacker. He still has the quickest trigger of anybody in the league when it comes to diagnosing and getting a move on plays. And that's why we'll talk about it in the offseason, but I don't believe that the team should be looking to move on from him at the end of the season. I don't think that that's the right move.
Take a drink. Oh boy.
Angela says, as long as we make the playoffs, we have a chance. Or Angelina, I apologize. I agree with that. Because of the way this team is constructed, they do have a chance. The difference between this team and that 2016 team is the defense. And we've seen in the past, in recent history, that defenses can win championships. I mean, it's true. When teams get hot defensively, they can go on runs in the postseason. I absolutely agree with that, Angelina. Now, back to some other comments here. See if we have anything before I move on to the next topic. We need to talk about something, guys. We need to talk about all the sacks. Because right now, Dak Prescott leads the NFL in sacks. He has been sacked 45 times. And if you go to my Facebook, if you go to my Twitter, if you don't have Twitter, make one. Go to my Twitter, at Cowboys_DBM. I have made videos of every single one of Dak Prescott's 45 sacks. And it's something that I'll be writing about, but wanted to have the conversation with you first. I went through and assigned blame for every single one of his sacks. And I broke it down into three categories
4 really, or it's really 3, but it's 4 in total. And you'll understand that when I get to, assigning blame for each one. Now, like I said, he's been sacked 45 times. The next two are tied at second with Eli Manning at 41 and Deshaun Watson also at 41. Then it drops down to 38, Derek Carr and Marcus Mariota. Now, with this offensive line, 45 sacks is way too many. Now, whose fault is that? When I went through and watched, I assigned blame, 16 of them, on Dak Prescott. 16 of the 45 sacks. He gets sacked 3 3/4 times a game. 16 were his fault. Take away 16 from 45. Take 10 away. 35. Okay? 35 still puts him in the top 10. So who else is at fault? 14 of them I assigned blame to the offensive line. 14. That's it. 14 sacks given up by the offensive line. And then 14 more go to the scheme or coverage. Because sometimes guys are just covered. There's nowhere to put the ball. You can always try to say Dak Prescott should just throw the ball away in those situations. It's a little bit easier said than done. You can't always throw the ball away. Sometimes there's nobody in the vicinity of a sideline. You have a lot of routes going over the middle. You could be running a mesh concept with a deep post and a couple of vertical routes. And then you can get an intentional grounding, which isn't as bad as some sacks, depending on how deep you are, but are still a negative play. And I think a lot of on those are Dak trying to, get away from that pressure and make another play. Now, 3 of the sacks that are Dak's fault, he literally runs out, sprints out, and runs out of bounds. Now, there is absolutely zero excuse in my mind for him to run out of bounds prior to the line of scrimmage. When all he would literally have to do is toss the ball underhand out of bounds and not lose any yards. 3 times he's done that this season. Now, those 14 scheme and coverage sacks, some of them are on 3rd and longs. There's not a lot that you can do about that. It's just, it takes longer for guys to uncover. And then, you would like for your offensive line to be able to hold guys, but it's tough for them to hold guys for 3.5 seconds. Sometimes that's how long you need to. So I'm not putting those on the offensive line. Other people may. This is very subjective. But I had 1 sack that happened because of FedEx Field. Because Dak tried to scramble, and he slipped on some bullshit Washington Field that's already broken 2 quarterbacks' legs. That field is abysmal. Nobody should be playing on that. Just good that Dak didn't break his leg in that game because, like I said before, y'all don't want to see Cooper Rush in there. We may think that Dak is bad at times. Trust me, it could be worse. Now, can it get better? Can Dak help? Now, Dak is not taking as many sacks that are his fault now as he was. There's something I wanted to talk about real quick that is a next-gen stat. And, guys, that's a fantastic reference. If you want to Google next-gen stats, it's phenomenal. There's so much good data in there. And one that I like to look at on a weekly basis is time to throw. And it shows who is holding on to the ball too damn long. And for this past week, Dak Prescott got the ball out in an average of 2.62 seconds. Dak Prescott was sacked 7 times, and he was getting the ball out on average in almost 2.5 seconds. That's quick. He was, for a long time, averaging over 3. For the entire season, he averages 2.93 seconds from the time the ball is snapped to the time that he throws it. Almost an entire 3 seconds. There are 5 quarterbacks slower. Josh Allen, Deshaun Watson, Jared Goff, which was a bit perplexing to me because I didn't expect him, somebody who is not a truly mobile quarterback, somebody in an advanced offensive system, to hold the ball for that long. His protection's got to be pretty damn good. They also run a lot of max protects for him in play action situations where they have 7, sometimes 8 guys in protection. So he's able to hold on to the ball longer at times because of that. Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. Those are the guys who, from the snap, take longer to throw the ball. He just needs to get rid of the ball quicker and hit his closest receiver. I agree with that. That's exactly what Dak Prescott needs to do. And something that he'll never be able to do, really, is throw with a ton of anticipation and timing. And what I mean by that is this offense that the Cowboys run now relies on a lot of routes that come back to the football. Curls, comebacks, hitches, your dig routes in zone. Because your digs are like deep ends, kind of. But in zone coverage, what you do is when you get onto that final cut, you find that open spot and you sit and come back to the ball. Now, what he doesn't do well is get rid of the ball before guys are coming out of their breaks. Not all quarterbacks. Most quarterbacks are not great at it, especially the more mobile quarterbacks coming out of college, because they never had to. And that's something that after a couple of seasons you would have liked to see him get better at. But that's why Amari Cooper is so valuable, because he gets so wide open. And that's why Michael Gallup on vertical routes is so valuable, because for some reason, and I don't understand it, because Michael Gallup is not the fastest wide receiver in the world. He's actually not very fast at all. Relatively. But he gets separation, and he gets separation late in vertical routes. And I don't know how he does it, but it's really fun to watch, and that's something that if I get the chance to talk to him, I would like to ask him if there's something that he does to get that late separation. Joseph says, I like the show, very informative. Thank you. I watch a nauseating amount of film, and I do a nauseating amount of study. I'm also always trying to get more. I'm always trying to become a better student of the game. There's a lot that I don't know. There's a ton that I don't know. When I talk to guys on Twitter who do cover this game for a living from an analytical standpoint, I know nothing compared to them, and they make me want to get better, and that's something that I love about Twitter. Josh Mays says Dak is at fault for a good amount of them. I agree. I believe that 16, he is at fault for most, or for the biggest percentage of sacks, and I think that that's a big issue, because I don't think that a quarterback should be taking that many unnecessary snaps, especially when he does see checkdowns. He does see passes that are in open windows, and he even goes and loads up like he's getting ready to throw the football, and then he pulls them back. And that's something that I don't understand. I don't understand if he is so turnover averse that he is afraid to get rid of the football. That's something that's going to need to be fixed. Now, let's talk briefly about the Cowboys playing the Eagles. Justin Greathouse says, we lost a key part of our own line this year. That hurt us. Absolutely. The loss of Travis Frederick cannot be overstated. He is and was the glue of this offensive line. I'm glad that the team has him on the sideline with a headset on, able to speak directly with Mark Colombo and to be able to convey messages to the offensive line. It's a big moral win. It's good for morale to have him there. He was on the Cowboy Hour with Taylor Stern and Jeff Kavanaugh and Brad Sham this week. He is looking forward to being back next year. I actually wrote an article for the Cowboys Wire saying that no matter if he is back or not, I believe that they do need to look at drafting another interior offensive lineman. I don't know how this team long-term feels about Lyle Collins and Tyron Smith with that back, and Connor Williams, who came in as an offensive tackle, as an undersized guy because he was playing offensive tackle at about 295 pounds, which is not big for an offensive guard. When you have to try to anchor yourself against these 320-pounders, it is difficult when you're giving up 30 pounds like that. And I think that if they're able to bulk him up a little bit, they'll be okay. If he isn't able to bulk up, because he doesn't have a big frame to begin with, if you ever look at a picture of him, you will see that the dude barely has an ounce of fat on him. I don't know how much bigger he can get. It's all a matter of how strong he can get in that lower body to be able to hold up. Now, I saw that he said he feels good about making it back on the field next year. I agree with that. Gallup says just wait. He and Prescott will make a connection. Steven, I agree with that. Their rapport seems to be really good. I know that they missed last week on that long connection, but he has become a bigger part of the offense. Beasley seems to have been Linehan a little bit. Seems to have gotten that Beasley page taken out of the playbook since Amari Cooper arrived in town. I don't know if they're doing that on purpose, or maybe it's just because the outside receivers are getting open better and this offense runs through outside the numbers anyways. Dak Prescott doesn't attack the middle of the field often enough. This offense doesn't attack the field often enough either. If you look at next-gen stats, they have charts that you can look at that show just wide open middle of the field because it puts dots wherever Dak Prescott has thrown the football. And there are a large proportional disadvantage in the center of the field. It's not attacked enough. And that's where Beasley works. That's where these tight ends work. And that's a part of the field that isn't attacked enough because it's crowded in there. And when you have a quarterback who isn't confident in what he is reading and what he is throwing, you're going to see more balls thrown to the outside. So that's just kind of the way that the offense is set up. You'll see Cole Beasley still get open on those whip routes where it looks like he's running a slant and then gets to the outside. Looney is getting it done. I agree with that, Steven. Looney is getting it done. He's been way better than I thought he would ever be. But he is not Travis Frederick. Imagine this team with Romo would be such a problem. This team with Romo in 2014 would have won a Super Bowl. This team with Romo in 2018 would be with Dak anyways because Romo wouldn't have been able to stay healthy. What is going on with David Irving? Does he hate football? Terry says. This is a tough conversation to have because I don't know David Irving personally. And the older I get, even though I give people a lot of shit and I'm a sarcastic person, when it comes to people and their mental, their mindset, people who struggle with depression, people who struggle with drug addictions, and you guys might not hold the same thoughts I do on this, and that's fine. I understand the way that you feel. I understand that this guy is getting paid to do a job, and he's not doing it right now. but he is still injured from everything we're being told. Now, I don't know if Jerry's pulling a Jerryism. I don't know if Garrett is lying about it. But he did, if he had a high ankle sprain, that's a tough injury to come back from, especially when you count on your agility to win. And that is what David Irving does. I don't think he hates football. I think that he has personal issues. I think that he's fighting a custody battle. I think that he battles with demons and depression. And I think that that's something that he's going to have to figure out, and the team is going to have to help him with to get him back on the field. At this point, I don't imagine he comes back this year. He'd be a great addition. He's a phenomenal football player, one of probably the top 3 or 4 guys on the defense when healthy. I mean, the dude is an absolute difference maker. He had 7 sacks in 8 games last year, but I don't see him coming back. Now, I haven't talked about it at all. This Cowboys offense against the Eagles. The Eagles defense in the secondary is completely decimated by injury. And the Cowboys are going to be able to take advantage of that. I mean, I hate to be like this, but Amari Cooper ended a guy's season when they played him last. He got open on him once. All on one play. He got open on him once. And then shook him again. And when he shook him again, well, the dude tore his ACL and he's out for the season. Ronald Darby, who's a good football player. But now they have nobody in that secondary. So Dak Prescott should have a day that was even better than his first half against the New Orleans Saints. Now, Justin says, I think Dak is just scared to let go of the ball. He doesn't go deep for real. It's like he hesitates before he lets it go. I think that Dak Prescott needs to get visual confirmation before he gets rid of the ball. I absolutely agree with that. I don't know if he's scared. I just think that he might not trust what he sees with his eyes. Now, back to the offense. We saw Ezekiel Elliott absolutely go off against this football team. And I think that you can see that again. I think that they'll be able to run the ball well again. I think now that Noah Brown has gotten back into his role, he's getting more snaps by the week. And he's being extremely effective in those snaps that he gets as a blocker. So I'm really excited to see how they're able to run, because he did not have a good game. And, because the Eagles game was Noah Brown's first game back, and he did not look good blocking for Ezekiel Elliott in that game. And Zeke still went for 150 yards, and he still averaged over 7 yards a carry. So, pretty impressive stuff from Zeke in that first game. And I think that this offense could put up a 35-point kind of game even while controlling the football, not scoring all that quick. Now, I did want to bring up, because this hasn't been brought up, is I think that they're going to get Tavon Austin back for the stretch run. That can add about, in my estimation, just completely off the wall. I have no data to back this up. I think Tavon Austin can add 3 points a game to your team, because I think he's good for one explosive play a game that picks up a long third down, or picks up, 35 yards on an end around, or a jet sweep, or some kind of trick play, a screen. He's that electric with the football. He also gives you a damn punt returner. I love you, Cole Beasley. I'm one of his biggest fans. But he's not good at returning punts. He shouldn't be returning punts. But we got rid of Ryan Switzer and got Tavon. Hopefully Tavon is able to come back and produce for this football team. Garcia says, what's up? What's up? How's it going? Corey Bray from back home is watching now. Jeremy Knobb is watching from back home. Good to see you guys. Go to the Dallas Cowboys America's Team page, you guys. That is the one that I troll for comments on the most. It's tough going on the phone back and forth, and I can't have the comments up on Facebook on my computer because it doesn't have enough processing speed. the video will slow down, and nobody wants to see me going like this, like a robot. I think an established tight end one in another year of Amari Gallup this offseason could improve. Dak is the weak link. I do believe that Dak is the weakest link on the offense, but I still do believe that you can win a Super Bowl with Dak if the pieces around him are good. Now, there are a ton of tight end prospects in this draft, and that's something I will get into in depth later. Not something I want to get into right now. And I do believe that you can take it with a different offensive coordinator. You could take the tight end off the field completely and just use Noah Brown in that role. Spread the field, make them put 6 DBs on the field, and then bring Noah Brown in. Hell, you can put Noah Brown in line as a tight end because you're not going to be able to put another linebacker out there if you already have 3 other receivers out there, because a linebacker isn't going to be able to man up with Noah Brown in coverage. He's a mismatch machine. Now, I wanted to get on to this last topic. Who do you guys want to see the Dallas Cowboys play in the wild card round if they don't somehow go on a magical run and get a bye? Who out of these teams, Seattle, Minnesota, or Carolina, because I don't think Philly's got a chance, and I don't think the Redskins have a chance. I think those are really the only 3 teams that have a chance. Oh, Steven brings up a good point. Rico Gathers is still around. I've seen a lot of improvement in Rico Gathers this year. If he can get there mentally with what's going on with the offense, and I don't know what's going to happen if a new offensive comes in and he's got to learn a new one, because it took him 3 years to learn this one. But if he's able to get it, we're going to be good to go. Now, like I said, in the comments, let me know Seattle, Minnesota, or Carolina. Which team do you want to see in the wild card round? Because I'm going to tell you who I want to see. Or first, I'm going to tell you who I don't want to see. I do not want to see Seattle. Seattle is, for me, of those 3 teams, the best out of all of them. I didn't think they were going to win 8 games this year. I didn't think they were going to win 7 games this year. But Russell Wilson, throwing to a bunch of nobodies, running around like a chicken with his head cut off, making plays. Seattle Seahawks, very much like the Cowboys formula, shove it down your throat with the run. And they do it well. I believe they're the second best running team in the league behind the Carolina Panthers, who are the second team on that list I do not want to see. Because of that, because they have a running quarter, I do not want to see a running quarterback in the playoffs. Just personal feeling. That's what I don't want to see. I don't want these linebackers, for as good as they are, to have to try to cover Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield. Because I think Leighton Vander Esch could do it, but CMC's got enough lateral agility to be able to shake some tackles. Like I said, I would rather see Minnesota out of all those teams. And I would like to see Minnesota out of all of those teams because of Kirk Cousins. Because I have zero faith that man, how you like that? You like that? I like when I play Kirk Cousins. Because he will, for as good as he can be at times, he'll make a boneheaded play. He'll make a hilariously boneheaded play. So that's who I would like to see in the playoffs. And that's what Steven said. They already lost to both Carolina and Seattle. And that's another reason why, because I've seen them already. I know how they can beat the Cowboys. both of those teams, I believe, have a better defense right now. I don't know how Seattle does with nobody on that defense, but they're playing well. Carolina, they got some players. Luke Kuechly, probably still the best linebacker in football. Bobby Wagner, one of, if not the best linebacker in football. I don't fear the Vikings defense this year, and I thought that I would. I thought that they were going to be good. But I don't have faith in that team right now because I expected them to be a 12-game winner and run away with that division. And I thought that the Packers would be a little bit better than they are. I thought the Bears would be about as good as they are, maybe a little bit worse. But I didn't expect the Vikings to not be this good because they haven't been all that good of a football team. So that's who I would like to see. And I can see why you guys would want to see other teams. Also, I want to say hello to Walt. We will be somewhere this weekend, I believe, to call the game. I don't know where yet. But like he said, we're going to get this dub. He says it doesn't matter because we're taking on all comers, and we ain't ducking and nudging nobody. All right. Ray says Gathers would be a nightmare to cover for defenses. Too big for corner and safety, too fast for a linebacker. I agree with that. I think they can stop CMC now. Look how they bottled Kamara. I'm here to tell everybody. There is a lot of hype about Alvin Kamara and how great he is in space. But I can name 5 halfbacks that are better than him in space, and CMC is one of them. Alvin Kamara is a great running back in a phenomenal offensive system. I think he's a little bit overrated athletically. He's a great football player. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to knock Alvin Kamara, but CMC is on another level athletically. And just because you can say he's sneaky fast or he's sneaky quick, but it's just because he's white. The dude is a freak. Playing Carolina is like playing the Packers when they were good. That could be it. Gathers would be a nightmare. I agree with that. Gathers would be a nightmare if they figured things out. I am just about out. I want to see if anybody on the Phantom page has commented. Cole Beasley is a trash punt returner from Jeremy Knobb. Yes, he is. And honestly, Byron Jones on punt returns pisses me off. And it pisses me off because he used to be really good at it. And now all he does is hold. There's a holding seemingly on every single return. So why do it? Why do it when you have Cole Beasley out there who isn't shaking anybody? Cole Beasley isn't doing anything as a punt returner. So I agree with that there. I believe Cole Beasley is a trash punt returner. But I don't want Cole Beasley returning punts anyways. Like I said before, love Cole Beasley. I'm one of his biggest fans. I would give him all the money. But not all the money. Like a lot of money for slot corner. Whatever. That's all I got for today. I'm glad that you guys came along. I hope that you liked the show. If there's something that you would like to see and you've made it to this point, let me know. I want to be able to make this a very interactive environment. I want you guys to be able to talk to me. I want you guys to comment the entire show. I want you to share this video with your friends and get them on board. I want you guys talking shit to each other in the comments. More than anything, I want to inform, and I want to have a good-ass time talking to y'all. This has been another episode of D-CONNstructing Dallas, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time.